Welcome to the Young Pros Show. I'm Matthew Britt, and we have a very special guest here with us, my good friend Mike Alemao. He is the president of operations at the Ottawa Lifestyle Center, and he's going to share some of his insights and wisdom into operating a successful business and making a transition from one field into another, all while being an entrepreneur. So, Mike, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, man.
So good to have you here today.
Yeah, it's excited to be here.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how we've ended up sitting here today?
All right. Started off like any child or kid after high school, just went to university. Literally Googled highest paying job after university, and engineering popped up. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing engineering. Coming from an ethnic background, it's a doctor, lawyer, engineer. So it fit one of the three. Parents were super proud, went into it after year one, realized this was not what I wanted to do, and had nothing to do with what I was learning. I just couldn't see real life application.
Okay.
I started falling into I started studying a lot of people who were making big changes at the time. Brian Tracy, a lot of like life coaches, and a lot of what they were saying wasn't resonating with me. I mean, in school, what I was doing was half-assing like 2/3 of the semester, and then come like last month before exams, cram everything, do pretty well. But to me, that didn't make any sense because these guys were always talking about consistent habits and work ethic and waking up at 5, and I'm like skipping class, and I'm like, this doesn't resonate. So if I don't have these habits now, how is it that now when I graduate in 4 years, I'm suddenly going to develop these habits? Mm-hmm. That had to be something deeper. And I think when I sunk into, okay, what I'm actually going to do in engineering, like what kind of impact I want to have besides the degree, I didn't have an answer. So I was just like, all right, whatever. Just fall in love with what I'm doing. And at the time, it was just sports and training. And a couple stints at Good Life, athletic club a little bit. Met my business partner, Corey. We were actually in high school together. Never really liked each other. We were always in conflict. But
Interesting.
Yeah. He was doing a Muay Thai camp actually at Carleton. And I thought that was pretty cool. Supported him a little bit. And then we kind of collaborated with our ex-business partner as well. Mm-hmm. And we just started off in Parkdale, where we are situated, currently located. Mm-hmm. And then the rest is history.
Very nice. So now you guys have been in business for how long now?
It's 4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yeah.
What are some of the major things that you've learned, from going down the route of traditional, entrepreneurship was not kind of the thing at first. It was all the engineering, and now making that transition into being an entrepreneur. What are some of the major things that you've learned as far as the disciplines that separate the two?
That's a good question. I think entrepreneurship, I think you'll naturally fall in. I think everyone's an entrepreneur when you think about it, because intrinsically we all have things we love. We all want to act on those things and do things bigger than what it is currently. So engineering essentially teaches you, and I was talking to some people about this recently, it taught me how to look at a process, look at a system, look at anything, and figure out how to make it better. And I think that's a critical part of being an entrepreneur in terms of any kind of leadership, on a board, in business. It's trying to find problems. And I find it interesting that today's age, everyone's kind of all about this like positivity and law of attraction. It's not to say I don't disagree with it, but I think you have to have that balance where you're constantly looking at ways to make things better. And finding that balance, because it can sometimes put you in a very negative mindset where you don't actually look at all the good that you have and being grateful for it. Mm-hmm. But you got to tread that line, and balance isn't this like you're just in this state. It's you're constantly acting and you're finding what's right. You're going a little bit on the negative side. You're coming back. But as an entrepreneur, I would say that's how I would define an entrepreneur, as someone.
So it really helps you learn to be like solutions focused almost.
Solutions focused. Yeah.
So like finding, identifying problems, and then using your brain to figure out solutions to improve things and make them work more efficiently.
Yeah.
So the engineering really played a good role in your entrepreneurial journey.
It did. As much as I hated it in the beginning, it's kind of coming back.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So would you say that despite not working in that industry itself, that the education was extremely valuable for you?
I would agree. I would 100% agree. I think you go through that rebellion phase where you're like, screw the system, this is not working for me. But it's hard to kind of piece things in the moment. I think there's an element of, if you're focused on what you want, You just kind of got to trust the process a little bit, even if it doesn't make sense right away. And there's no perfect science to it. I think you just got to continually act and just take action all the time. And if you're ever second guessing or ever thinking about something, then you just got to continually take action. I don't think there's any like nuclear physics or like formula for it besides just act all the time.
Taking action all the time. So you can believe in the law of attraction, but if you're not doing something to make, the actions to make those things happen, it's just not going to be there, right?
Yeah.
So now that we talked about you have 4 years experience as an entrepreneur, working in the fitness industry, what daily habits for yourself from being in fitness have you implemented into your life that have translated into more success as a business owner?
Good question. I got into fitness, lifting weights predominantly, for fixing, quote unquote, a lot of the insecurities that I had.
Okay.
I lacked a lot of confidence. I was a very social guy. I'm still a very social guy. I love being around people, but I never had that confidence in myself. So I relied on the weights in terms of like getting physically bigger, getting physically stronger, that it would fill the void, and it never did.
Okay.
But what I learned from training is something that it's why I continue to train. Like if I was to stop getting gains or strength, I mean that would suck, but I would still do it. And the reason for that is that the weights and training in general keeps me very grounded. And what I mean by that is that there could be something amazing that happens with the business and it puts me on like cloud 9. But when I go into the weight room, the weights kind of bring me back down to reality. Because no matter how much highness I had during the day, I'm still lifting the same weight unless I actively try to pursue incremental like steps. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to go from benching 315 to 405 just because your business grew 20% overnight. The weights keep you grounded. And the same thing is that when I have a bad day in business or something drastic kind of happens where it messes with my mentality, I rely on the weights to kind of bring me back.
Okay.
Right? What I've learned is that there's highs and lows all the time in business and in entrepreneurship, but you need to rely on something, whether it be training, whether it be art. Everyone's kind of got their own little thing. For me, it's weights. Weights will kind of bring me right back down to reality. And it keeps me in the mindset of always looking to improve. Because, training is in the moment you don't feel good. But it's in states of discomfort that you actually become better. Yeah. And that's what training shows me, is that if you're lifting the same weight and you feel good in doing the workout, you're not actually physically changing.
So there's a couple major good things that you said in there. One was talking about how the incremental steps, right, to constantly improve. It's not just that you make this dramatic change, everything's different. Now it's making small incremental changes on a day-to-day basis that have really led to the biggest gains in your life. Having something for yourself to kind of keep you grounded and maybe get your mind sometimes off of the business successes or setbacks, right, to get you kind of reset and regrounded, having that. And, some people, like you said, it could be art or practicing music or doing something else that they love, but staying grounded can keep you in that space to help you grow your business the way you want it to grow. And another thing there was the challenge, the constant challenges in the weight room for you have helped you realize that, I guess you can get through anything, right?
Yeah.
Showing you that you can make it.
100%. I've learned to shut up about a lot of things, no matter how grand they are. It's kind of like when you first head into the gym, you want to be this big, bad dude. You want to lift heavy weight, but talking about it doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And when you fall into a program and you just execute on that program, and then you execute on the next program, you learn to just shut up and just trust the process, right? There's no point if you're not making gains to start questioning or start talking more about what's going on. You need to figure out, like, what do I do to continually progress and get better? Yeah.
Okay. So now, as your journey's been happening, you're spending time doing something you had never done before, in the fitness industry and running a gym. How have you been able to cope with having to lead people? Because you have a team of people that works with you. You guys have built an exceptional community at your facility. What are some of the major things that you've had to implement into your life to improve your leadership and to build that community so strong?
Yeah. John C. Maxwell is a leadership coach. I think he's probably the best that I've ever learned from. And he's got this law called Law of the Lid. Mm-hmm. And as a kid, I've always tried to pursue and find people who are better than me. That's just a natural ability that I've had. I want to get better. I just want to be around people who are better than me. And it's not an ego thing. I like competition as well. Yeah. So me pursuing is almost like a challenge. I want to find people who are better than me, and I want to figure out how to get into their circle or give them value, so that it's not just me taking. I give them what they want, and then they just happen to help me.
Yeah.
And sometimes the help doesn't come back right away, but if I can be associated with those people, John C. talks about that. You can only grow, like your organization, everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yeah.
And if your leadership lid is like at a 6, you're only going to attract people who are at that level. So a big part of leadership, for example, is just constantly engaging with people, like contact, like simple things. Across the street is a guy who's Nazim Ahmed, owner of Canvas Pop and Workshop X, kind of like Ottawa royalty. And he's been across that street for 4 years when we first started.
Across from you guys?
Right across the street.
Okay.
And I never thought of pursuing him. I didn't think he would ever take the chance to or take the moment to talk to me. But one day, by coincidence, we were walking down the street on a holiday and no one else was working. And I was just, hey, what's up? And he passed by. He's like, hey, what's up, man? Good to see you working. And then we kept going. And then I turned around and I was like, listen, I want to take you for coffee in the morning. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And that was one of the most impactful hour meetings I've ever had in my life. But you need to consistently look, and this is again where it goes back to the weights. How do I improve, right? Putting yourself in uncomfortable positions majority of the time. Mm-hmm. Pursuing people who are better.
So seeking out opportunities to grow.
Exactly.
Actively looking for them.
Active.
Yeah. So you got the leadership side. How about the building the community? What have you found has been helpful to help you guys build the community? Because it's really very impressive, the strength of that community inside your facility.
There's so many people that even now, like just thinking about some of the shit that people go through in their everyday lives, I think it's a blessing to wake up every morning and have food on the table and be around people who are doing what you're doing and having impact. You need to legitimately care about people if you plan on building a community. And I don't think there's an exact science to it. I think you just have to legitimately deep down be grateful for what you have, but have a desire to want to have impact on other people's lives and care about their well-being. Yeah. I think it's just that simple. If you care about other people and figure out, okay, these are the talents and skills and resources I have now, how can I make this person better and this person? As we've continued to grow, I've realized I can't reach out to like every single member at our community, but if I take care as much as I can of the team around me, put them in an environment where they feel safe, where they can grow and be better people, they just happen to do that for other people. And I think that's how you create that effect.
So you do a lot of empowerment as well.
Yeah.
So you empower the people around you to be better and care, and you do that by showing them you care, and then it ripples out.
It's just time. It's time. Starting a business, you don't have funds to like have like epic food all the time for them, or like do a lot of the fancy stuff that like Google and a lot of these big time organizations do. But the most precious commodity on the planet is time, because you never get it back, right? And that's something that we enforce big time with our team, is that if you have a skill, pursue someone or like help someone on the team, just give your time. And that culture is just kind of spread where you have new people come in, and the team doesn't even have to reach out to that new person. People in the community are spending time with them.
Nice. So now, Mike, if you could impart some wisdom on the youth, some of the experiences that you've had in your life, like if you're going to go talk to yourself, let's say as a 17 or 18-year-old, you know, being where you are now, what are some of the major things that you would want to say to yourself?
Emotion is okay. It's okay to get emotional. And it's okay to not have to be this like blank state. You're never gonna be at the best version of yourself. You're always looking to improve. So that's number one. Always seek ways to improve. And anytime you get your head stuck in the cloud thinking that this is it, it's never it. There's always ways to improve and have bigger impact. Number two, I would say would be just go with it. You're gonna mess up 100 billion fucking times. And it's okay. It's fine. Can I swear on this shit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And just in the process of like making mistakes, you will learn. Like, don't make the same mistakes over and over and not want to like look at it, what's going on. Recognize the patterns in your life and figure out, okay, why is this reoccurring? And take ownership of most of the things that go wrong. Because if you do that, I think that's 90% of leadership.
Yeah.
It's just taking that responsibility. It doesn't even matter if you're at the fault. You're just always looking for solutions. Don't just look at the who's right, who's to blame. How do we move forward? Always focus on moving forward.
Yeah. I see it a lot in my life that people are really quick to pass the buck, the mistakes, the errors, whatever it is that's happened, pass it on to someone else. And I've found the most successful people around me are very quick to take ownership over anything that goes wrong in their life.
Yeah.
And you can easily blame someone else, and you'll never get what you need from that experience. But if you're willing to say, you know what, no matter what it is, it's because of me, my thoughts, my actions, my good or my bad, whatever that is, if you can take that ownership and accountability for your own actions, you're going to get much further ahead much quicker than if you're passing the buck to everybody else. Last thing, Mike, here, as we wrap up, we always like to ask our guests who is someone that they can think of that needs to be on the show. We like to get a referral of another successful person who can pass on some great wisdom to the youth of today and people that are watching. So who is someone that you think of that comes to your head?
I know you said one. I'm going to say two.
You can tell me two.
Just in case. I mentioned his name, Nazim Ahmed. I think he has world-class ability to coach just because of where he's taken his organization.
Okay.
He would be number one if you can get a hold of him. Number two would be Brandon Fong. He's a life coach on the rise. I think he just comes from a real humbling story, and I think a lot of the power in his story is just overcoming the worst of the worst. And if he could do it, I think he can inspire thousands of students.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, awesome wisdom passed on today. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Any last words you want to say before we wrap up here?
No, thank you, and just make shit happen.
All right, awesome. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. And thank you so much for watching the Young Pros Show. We look forward to bringing another episode to you very soon.